have so many things to share with you today, so I hope this video is going to be inspiring. But we're going to start with the paintings and then we'll move on to the crafts. Let's start with my new series of watercolour paintings. I'm working on some very springy, summery paintings at the moment. This one in particular is called Walking in the Wooded Hills. This is the third in the series. I have a couple of miniatures that I worked on before this one, which I'll show you in a moment. For these paintings, I'm working with this watercolour palette. Now, this is my main palette. And as you can see, it's quite big. It has quite a lot of colours. There's a mix of big brands and handmade colours, and I'm finding that I'm just loving working with all the greens. So it's very much based on the landscape that surrounds me and what I see when I go walking. I'm going to just bring in the small ones so you can see those two. Actually, do we need to move the bigger one out of the way? Maybe we do. So all of these three are from the Walking in the Wooded Hills series, and I started small with these ones. I have a story with these two, actually. I was working on a larger painting for a project that I'm actually doing with Dominic, which I'm not going to talk about at the moment, but we're working on something. And it went wrong, but I salvaged the bits I liked. Now, I've done this before, and I think this is a great way to not waste your paintings. So if they go wrong, I used to hate throwing things away, but I also hated failed paintings kind of hanging around, but I didn't know what to do with them. And now I either cut them up and use them for collage, or I'll cut smaller sections out of them. So I find sections I really like within the painting, and I made new paintings from these. So I added to them and just made them work, and I love these little paintings. So these were the first two from the Walking in the Wooded Hills series, and then I moved on to the bigger one. So for the smaller ones, I was actually working on Saunders Waterford paper, but for these ones, I'm working on Archers. A lot of the pieces you'll see today will be on the Archers paper. This is one of my favourite watercolour papers now. I sometimes use the 640 GSM or £300. This one is the 300 GSM, so it's slightly less thick, but it's still a really heavyweight watercolour paper. And I just love the texture. I think their cold press paper and their rough paper are just beautiful. I always get really good results. For this one, I taped off the edges. And have I got the tape here? Actually, I have. It's here. This is the masking tape I use. This is the MT masking tape. It seems to be really good. I have various different colours, and I also use it for wrapping presents as well as masking off paintings, but it's really good for masking off because it doesn't rip the paper and you get a lovely clean white border. What else was I going to say about this painting? Oh yeah, this was the piece that I filmed the entire process of, sharing my techniques, the materials I use and the colours I used for the YouTube channel memberships and Patreon video for May. So if you're interested in seeing that and you want to see my entire process, you can perhaps join up and just check that out if you wish, if you're interested in that. I've been working on a lot of miniatures recently. I have some that are still in progress, but these two are finished. And I use deep light watercolours for both of these, with the exception of the little crescent moons, which were the Agallo, I think it's called Antique Gold. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is. But I used my deep light palette that I curated back in 2023, and it's called Mellow Days and Cozy Nights. It has a lot of gorgeous greens in. So for this spring night painting, I thought they would work well together. And then I go in, actually after the watercolour, I go in and put gouache on top as well for the details. So a lot of these details are in gouache. And I also used a gorgeous colour called Mother Earth Grey. Now, it's on the background of this and it's in the sky here. And that one is in my newest palette with him, which is called Storyteller. And this little bird, I have an interesting story with him. So do you see this little one over here? I cut that out of something I did. Now it must be, I'm going to guess about 4 or 5 years ago. I got rid of the painting, but I kept that little bird because I loved the shape of him and I meant to do something with it for absolutely ages. And the other day I thought, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to make him slightly bigger and bring him to life again. So that's what I did. And so I've kept that little tiny painting for so long, meaning to do something with it. So you may see this bird appearing again, actually, because I really enjoyed doing this. I'm loving working small like this. It's so much fun. You can finish them fairly quickly, so you get that satisfaction of getting a project finished. Whereas when you're working on larger pieces, it takes longer. I thought it might be fun to share some of the pieces currently in progress as well. So this one, I've basically done all of the background in watercolour, and this is how I would usually work. And then I'll go in and do some of the smaller elements of the composition. So the trees and bushes. This little bird, he's going to be a redwing, and the branch he's sitting on. And then after all of that is done, I go in with gouache and I basically add all of the details. So there'll be details on the bird, details on the trees and bushes, possibly on the hills as well. Sometimes I add sheep, sometimes I add birds in the sky. So all of that tends to be done in gouache at the end. And I like to use the Holbein gouache. That's kind of the one I find myself using most of all, but I also love Jackman's gouache and Winsor & Newton designer's gouache as well. I have several different brands, but I do find that I go back to these ones a lot. And I think at the moment especially, it's because I love the Holbein greens. So they work really well over the top of my colour palette that I tend to use in watercolour. So everything kind of blends really nicely together. So this is the block that I'm working on for this one. This is the Archer's cold press watercolour paper, but this is the rough version. So it's got slightly more of a texture, I would say, but there's not much in it. But I really do love working on a textured paper. 2 other pieces currently in progress. My Patreon members will probably remember seeing this one. We did a craft hangout and I was working on these at that point actually, and I haven't done any more to this one since I spoke to them last month. So I just really need to do the bird here. I think pretty much it's done apart from the bird. And that little bird is going to be a dunnock. I might do something to the hill, we'll see. I might do something along here, maybe add some lines there or something. I don't know. But this little one, this is something I'm doing with the Deep Deep Light watercolour palette again, the one that I curated for them in 2023, the one with all the lovely greens. So yeah, that's in progress at the moment. It's just had its basic background done. And obviously I'll go in and I'll add a lot of details. So this will really bring certain elements out. I feel like the details really finish things off for me, the way I work. It's like I have to add the details for it to all sort of come together. So yeah, those are some of the ones in progress at the moment. So I'm going to show you a few more finished pieces and then we'll move on to the crafts. I've had to turn on the desk lamp because it's getting really dark out there. The clouds have gathered and I think it's probably going to rain again. So we will see. It's been sunshine, rain all day, which makes it very difficult for filming, but hopefully you can see this okay. So this one is called Spring Days Like These. This is number 3 in the series. I have another couple to share with you. And I worked on the Archer's rough paper for this one. And this is very much based on the landscape that surrounds my home and studio here in Surrey. It actually reminds me very much of a walk that Dominic and I took the other week, where we walked into town to go to the bookshop. We wanted to go to the secondhand bookshop and we struck gold. We actually ended up buying 6 books, all art and craft related. In fact, all craft related, I think, rather than art related. Gorgeous books, and I need to share those with you. Actually, I'll be sharing one of them with you in a bit. But yeah, this is very much based on the spring landscape, and I love the lightness of it. I love that feeling of when everything is really fresh in the spring and all of the leaves have just come out, so they have that lovely kind of, like here, this sort of yellowy green. And yeah, it's really fun using all of the greens again. So I'll show you the other 2 paintings from this series as well. These are the first 2 from the Spring Days Like These series, and I started off with this one, making the road darker, and then I moved on to this paler path, which I felt gave it an extra kind of lightness. It feels even more springy. So when I moved on to the 3rd one, which you've just seen, I kept this kind of path. So it's interesting actually how you kind of develop as you go along through a series. It's like what you start off doing is not necessarily what you're doing as the series goes along. But I do like this darker path. It just has a slightly different feeling to this one. I actually featured these 2 paintings in a video a couple of months ago when I was sharing my recent palette with Deep Light, which is Storyteller. It's this one, because I used it to paint these, and these are very autumnal feeling. Autumn is honestly, I think, my favourite season to paint, along with night scenes. I love night scenes, winter scenes. Spring and summer are a little bit out of my comfort zone. I never used to paint spring and summer, but I worked on a calendar last year, which is going to be released later this year, and I had to paint all of the seasons, so it forced me out of my comfort zone, and I now paint all 4 seasons, but I do really enjoy autumn. So I chose to paint autumn with this palette. I look forward to sharing more artwork with this palette soon actually, but yeah, these ones were so fun to paint. I think this one is called Mellow Autumn Days. It really gives me that cozy feeling that you get when you walk across the fields on an autumn afternoon and there's like a massive flock of birds coming because the farmers just ploughed the field, and I love that. I think that's so, I don't know, it's just something so nostalgic and lovely about that. And this little blackbird, I loved painting him. He's actually called Welcoming the Dawn, so he's watching the sun rising over there. So yeah, both of these will be in the next shop update as well. That's why I wanted to include them in this video, because I wanted you to see kind of everything that I've been working on recently. So as I say, I have some more in progress, which I'm not going to share at the moment. But yeah, I think that wraps up the art section. So let's move on to the crafts. I'm really struggling with the light right now. So what I'll do is I will insert some footage of these owls from different angles, or some photographs or something, and I'll just put this audio over the top of that. So yeah, I've been working on some cute little owls. These are kind of like, I would say, very folk arty. They definitely have a very homemade kind of style, and that's the style I wanted. I started with the smallest one, and it was my first time doing anything like this, so I just wanted to see whether I could actually put the idea into action, because I've had the idea for these for a while and I just haven't had the time to do them. So I started small and I used a variegated thread on him. It's like hand-dyed thread. I just hand stitched onto the linen. I wanted to keep it looking very much like, almost as if somebody had drawn them, like doodled on them. I wanted them to have a lot of character as well. And when it came to the second one, I made him slightly bigger, and I also added little patches that I had kind of used for my slow stitching. So I cut up pieces that I'd practiced my slow stitching on, because I'm very much into that now as well. I haven't really talked to you that much about the slow stitching. I think maybe a little bit in a recent video, but not too much. Yeah, I'm using my slow stitch practice pieces. I'm kind of cutting them up and using them for the owl's wings, and just to add some interest and some extra texture and things like that. And then I moved on to the larger owl, and I added a little button to her as well. And I also taught myself blanket stitch so that I could stitch the bottom of her that way. So with the others, I just did like a whip stitch, I think it's called, in cotton, but with her I used an embroidery thread and did blanket stitch. So I've kind of come across a few problems while I've been working on these, and I've been troubleshooting as I've gone along. So it's kind of that balance of keeping them looking characterful and quirky and handmade, but also wanting to have a nice finish on them, if that makes sense. So I'm really enjoying them. They're absolutely adorable. Everything is hand stitched at the moment. I don't know whether eventually I will always embroider them by hand. Whether I sew the front and the back together on my sewing machine eventually, I don't know. I might do, but at the moment I'm sewing everything by hand. And yeah, I'm gradually troubleshooting any issues I have, and I think I'm ready to make some to sell. So they're going to be called pocket owls, in that you can carry them around if you want in your pocket. They're small enough to do that, but they're equally happy sitting on a shelf or a bookcase or on your desk. This is something new for me, and I really hope you like them. Another thing I've been having fun with recently is getting back into making pom-poms. So I went through a real phase of this last year, and I've given it a rest for a while, and I decided I wanted to make some really big ones. So these ones at the side here, these are like the normal size pom-poms that you would imagine, and these are really big ones. I used my biggest pom-pom maker to make these. And this one is finished. This one's all trimmed here. And this is what they look like when they haven't been trimmed. So he's just fresh out of the pom-pom maker. You can see he's a little bit ruffled, and he has some longer scraggly bits, and I need to trim him up. Let's see, he's really scraggly there. I need to trim him up so he's like that one, but I thought it might be interesting for you to see the difference between these, like the before and after kind of thing. I'm gonna insert a picture here that I took actually of the pom-pom hanging on a new piece of furniture I bought actually at auction the week before. It's a 200-year-old Davenport. They are writing desks. I can't believe it's as old as that, but it was made in the time of William IV. And I've got it for my craft room, and I absolutely love it. So you're getting a little sneak peek now, but I'm going to be sharing more of this amazing piece of furniture because it has such incredible storage. It's going to be perfect for the craft room for storing all my threads and things. So I'm going to be sharing that with you. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with these pom-poms, and you can see just how big that pom-pom is if you look at it on that piece of furniture. But it won't hang on there permanently. I'm actually going to hang them, I think, from the ceiling, but we will see. And the little ones, they're going to be hung from probably my door handle, I think, or maybe on like the key of a little box, a little antique box. I'm going to do something with them. I have quite a few pom-poms actually, some of which I've shared with you and some I haven't, but you'll be seeing more of these in the future when they're in the craft room. So one thing I'm really happy about is that I finished my Sophie scarf. So this is my first knitting project, and I knit it with Drops Lima in, I think the colour is called Wheat Mix. I'll try and correct that on screen if I'm wrong, but it's this lovely soft browny oatmeal colour. And for those of you who don't know this pattern, I'm sure so many of you do because it's a very well-known pattern. It's by Petite Knit, and it was just, I don't know, kind of like, I thought a fairly simple type of project to do for my first project. So it's knit in garter stitch. I had to learn to increase and decrease, because as you can see, if I pull it along, you can see it kind of is like a triangle, like a very long and gentle kind of triangle. So I had to learn to increase, decrease, cast on, cast off. I knit it in garter stitch, and I had to do an I-cord edge. I think that's all I needed to know for this, but it was quite challenging. I'm having to learn to read my knitting, like how to read my knitting. So if I go wrong, I need to know how to put it right. I was absolutely amazed that I managed to finish this scarf, because I actually did so many versions of this and had to pretty much just take them all back to the very beginning. It was very disheartening at one point, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. And I think for my first project, that's not bad at all. I'm really pleased with how neat the I-cord edge looks. I think that's a really nice little touch on this scarf. There's probably a lot more I could say about the Sophie scarf, but I just wanted to show you my finished piece. I think mine ended up being about 96 centimeters, something like that. I knit it on the Symphony needles, so they're these ones. I knit it on 3.75mm needles. I think she recommends 4mm. Excuse the lighting, the sun is coming in at an angle now. But yeah, I would really like to knit another one of these now that I have managed to finish one. And I'm going to be using a hand dyed yarn, and I want to knit a longer Sophie scarf, and then eventually I want to move on to the Sophie shawl. So first project done. So another thing I'm making, now this is something to my own design. I want to knit a cushion cover, and so I've decided to do it in these little like patches or swatches. They're going to be different sizes, different wools, probably different stitches as well. I've done garter stitch and then stockinette for this one so far, so those two are garter, that one's stockinette, but I would like to do lots of different stitches and use different yarns, and then I'm going to sew them all together and make a patchwork cushion cover. So this is a little project, a little challenge I've set for myself. So I will keep you informed as to how that goes along. That will probably feature in a creative diary or something in one of those upcoming videos. So the other day when we went to the secondhand bookshop before my birthday, Dominic found this book, and he tried to hide it from me while we were in there, but I did catch a glimpse of the title of it, but I had no idea what it contained inside. And he gave this to me for my birthday. It was one of my birthday presents. He got me a couple of great secondhand books actually, as did his mum. So they were all from that same book haul. And I bought two for myself, and Dominic's mum bought two for me for my birthday, and Dominic bought two as well for my birthday. So I have quite a few really good secondhand books to share with you at some point. But this one, Bloomsbury Needlepoint, so it's from the Tapestries at Charleston Farmhouse. I think I've talked to you before about Charleston Farmhouse and the Bloomsbury set. Virginia Woolf, Duncan Grant, Vanessa Bell, all of those people who decorated their houses so beautifully. They have painted furniture, decorative doors, decorative fireplaces. They painted everything. I'm sorry about the sun I can see on the screen. Gosh, it's looking so bright now. Let's quickly look at this because I wanted to share something that I'm going to be working on, which I'm really excited about. So I've just put that on my lap so that I can open the book. Okay, I really do apologise for the light. So it has a lot of beautiful photographs of their interiors. So you see what I mean about the painted furniture and the murals. There's a little bit about them in the front there. So we have inspiration from all of that. But what really excited me about this book is they have taken the tapestries, or some of the tapestries, and they have charted them so you can stitch them too. So I don't want to show too much of the chart. I mean, even though this is a vintage book, maybe it's not great to show all of the chart out of respect to the author. So I think this book is about 30 something years old. I think it was early 1990s. I think I'm right in saying that. But there are several charts in here for their tapestries. And I am going to be working on one of them. And I'm going to show you. I haven't done much so far, but I've done very little actually. Can you even see that in this light? No, you can't, it looks terrible. Okay, I'm going to insert the footage here that I took the other day before I started this, so you can really see the colours I've chosen. So these are tapestries in the book, and she's used, I think, Appleton's Cruel Wool. I'm actually using embroidery threads because I'm going to do them as cross stitches. So I'm starting with the one called the Blotter, and I'm really, really excited about this because I love this style so much. I'm just going to flick through the book so that I can, there we go. I think you can just about see that. So I'm going to be doing this as something that I will frame. So I'm not going to be making anything out of it. I'm just going to frame it and have it on the wall in my craft room, I think. Might go in our bedroom, but I think it's going to be the craft room. I'm so excited about this book. So we will see what I do in the future, but I'm going to be working on this one for now. I think this one's going to take me a fair amount of time to do. I will keep you up to date on my progress with that. I was going to share something else I'm working on cross stitch wise, but I'm actually not going to because the lighting is so terrible now. So I'm just going to end here, and thank you all for watching. I just want you to know that I actually, a few months ago, was scared to knit, scared to do any kind of stitching other than cross stitch. And now look at me, I'm making little owls, I'm doing slow stitching, I'm knitting. Don't let the voices in your head stop you from doing what you want to do, because it's always a learning curve. You're always going to have difficult parts and you're going to make mistakes as you go along, as you learn anything new, but just persevere, keep at it, and I'm testament to the fact that if you keep going, you will actually be able to complete a project, because I didn't think I was going to complete the Sophie scarf, but I did. So I'm excited for other knitting projects now, and I'm fully in my arting and crafting era. Okay, everyone, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you're working on at the moment, whether that's art, crafts, whatever it is. Let me know what you're particularly inspired by in this video, and hype the video if you're able to do that, because that really helps. And check out Patreon, channel memberships, all of that jazz. And thank you for watching. Thank you to my Patreon members. Thank you to my YouTube channel members. Thank you to my subscribers. I'm really, really glad that you're all here, and see you soon.